Hey everybody, Kevin Purcell with the Theotek Podcast. We are back on the air after a couple of weeks. The last time I was here with you, we were here with you. We talked about Apple, so now we're going to go to the other side and talk about Google. They had their Google event this week, made by Google, and unearthed a whole bunch of gadgets and things. No, actually, I thought some of it looked pretty good. But first, I want to introduce to you our newest member of the Theotek Podcast team. This is Mark Allison. Say hi, Mark.
Hey, everybody.
Mark, if you are an Accordance user and have used any of their training videos or hung out in their forums at all, you probably recognize Mark. He's another Accordance employee, so we're very Accordance heavy here with two employees and one user. But Mark's also, like the rest of us, a geek and likes toys, and so that's why we wanted to invite him on the show. So, Mark, just tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm in the process of helping my parents move from North Georgia to Fort Myers. So I'm here in the living room right next to the kitchen. So this won't be where you'll usually see me, but this is where I am today. But yeah, I worked for about 15 years now, I guess. Worked with the help documentation, some content development, webinars and seminars. Some of the seminars that we do around the country, you'll see me as well as Rick too. So yeah, I look forward to being here with you guys on a regular basis. I was here once. So, yeah.
Yeah, you were with us as a guest a while back, and I think you talked about Accordance on that show, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. We probably had just come out with version 12, if I remember correctly, and I was probably talking about some of the new features that are part of that. So, yep.
Well, cool. Are you a Mac guy or a Windows guy, an iPhone, Android? Which one?
I'm a Mac guy from way back. Now, I've used Windows, and I still use Windows. Mostly right now, it's like in a virtual machine on my Mac. But when I got my first start with the Mac, wow, let's see, it would have been in the 1980s. I was working for a newspaper while I was in college, and we had it was a terminal that everybody had, and this was before it wasn't running Windows. It wasn't. I don't even DOS, but you would have to. To make something italic, you'd have to type in a code before the word, and to get rid of the italics, you have to type another code. And then the printer was in another side of the building. So, and it printed it out, being a newspaper, in a column strip. So if you had forgotten, for example, to unitalicize the word, the rest of your article from that point on would be in italics, and you wouldn't know until it was printed out because you never saw on the screen what you were getting. And in the second newspaper I worked for, they had just purchased some Macintosh SE 30s. And man, that was like, and then they had the laser printers that went with them. It was revolutionary. Even though you're on this little, I don't know how big, what was like this, like an 8-inch screen, or not even,
It was
just
a 7, the old SEs.
7-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, and so the screens were so small, but it didn't matter. You could see the font and you could see what you were getting. It was crazy. So yeah, so I've sort of been a Mac guy ever since then. So
well, cool. Well, we also have our two of our other regulars with us, LaRosa. How you doing, LaRosa Johnson, from Olive Tree Bible Software, and out in the West?
Yep, joining you guys on my lunch break.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing so. And then we also have Wes Allen, who's a pastor up in New Jersey. How are you today, Wes?
I'm doing pretty good. Good to be back.
Good. We might get joined by Antoine. He's sort of iffy. Doing this during the daytime makes it harder for the guys, so I'm thankful for you three to be able to join me on this one. What we want to do today is, we're talking about Google's things that they launched. We did this with Apple, and so decided we'd also do it with Google. And this week they had an event. It was on Wednesdays, I believe, and believe it or not, they revealed 8 products. I mean, now some of them were just updates or re-revelation of things that they had kind of previously talked about. But I mean, that's a lot of things to try to get out there. And so which one of these is most interesting to you guys? LaRosa, you're probably the most recent Android user other than me, who's currently. Which of these were the most interesting to you when you heard about them.
I think the most interesting thing was definitely going to be the Pixel 2. Yeah, Pixel 2 and the Pixel XL2 or whatever they're calling them. But yeah, I really liked what they were talking about in the keynote, just in the sense that we're to the point now with phones that we really don't need to worry about specs anymore. So it's all about what you're doing with the software. And I really like what Google is doing with their software. It's like, if I was in a position to where I'd be buying a new phone, I would be really tempted to switch back to Android and get the Pixel XL.
So what are some of the things you like about the new software stuff?
As much as I hate giving Google all of my data, their Google Assistant is really good. I mean, I really like the demo that they did where it's like, okay, Google, let's go home. And then it gave you the traffic notification, started resuming your podcast, sent a text to her husband, letting him know she was on the way home. And then even just doing things like being able to broadcast to other devices, like the Google Home speakers, being able to broadcast and say, hey, I'm on my way home. And everyone in the house can hear that notification across any Google Home speakers that you have hooked up.
Yeah, I think the interaction between the products is really interesting on Google's side. Apple's trying to get there with Siri, but my personal experience between the two, I don't talk to my devices. I just don't enjoy doing that. But when I have, I feel like I've gotten better results with Google Assistant than with Siri, unfortunately.
Now, Kevin, you had used Google Home for a while and liked it and then hated it. But have they improved it?
Well, the reason I hated it, we had this discussion just before coming on air, and the reason I hated it was I bought the Google Home device, and at first I was like, this is awesome, this is cool. And the more and more I tried to do with it as they added new features, it wasn't supported on my account because I have a G Suite account that's tied to my kevinpurcell.org domain. And Google is so ridiculous that they give it to the free first, and then it takes months to even years before those of us who pay for it get to use it. And I just finally decided I'm done. And so I've migrated all of my stuff. The only thing I have left in my kevinpurcell.org Google account is I have a ton of apps, obviously, but I moved over to my Gmail account. And, most of those apps were fine. They were free. I paid maybe $10 to buy the ones that I actually used that were paid apps. The problem is my movies. I did buy about 20 movies, but half of those were Disney titles.
So they're just Disney Anywhere.
I got Disney Anywhere, so I've got those in iTunes as well. I've got them on Amazon. So now I got a deal on a real cheap one. They sell for $129. I think I got mine for $80. And so I went ahead and got another one and use it. Mainly, it's as a Netflix remote, because I can tell it to tell my Chromecast hooked up to my TV, watch the latest episode of Arrow on the bedroom TV or on the man cave TV or something like that.
Oh, that actually is kind of cool. I like that. I think, it's kind of what's both ironic, funny, and ironic, scary, Kevin, is they're probably making more money off of you as a free user than they were as a paid user.
Well, that may be true, but they could have made that money both ways.
Yeah.
It's a little $50 per person.
Yeah.
Per year, and my all the money that I'm paying and that sort of thing. So, but they do have some interesting things. With the Google Home Max is their version of the Apple HomePod.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to bring it up
Sonos
here.
Speakers.
Yeah, it's like it is a Sonos speaker basically, isn't it? Yep. On the inside.
Pretty much.
I've heard people say that they think it might just be a rebranded
Sonos
device. I don't know, but I mean it's got apparently good quality. I have not heard it, so I don't know. But that price, $399. They're definitely competing with Apple HomePod, aren't they?
Well, Kev, go back to the overall overview of all the products.
Of all the home products?
Well, just everything that was just shown, the list there. I mean, it's interesting to see how Google really is they're working out of one design language now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of, and that even holds over to their portables, is that
round.
It's all that, round, but also two-tone.
Yeah.
So you have two different materials in just about everything that can be seen. in public, which I think is kind of interesting to see them figure that out instead of it used to just be engineering and whatever the engineers wanted to do is what went.
Yeah, I think one of the other impressive things that I liked about the keynote was just the whole setup with the Google Home products is that it recognizes multiple users. And so when it recognizes your voice, it's pulling data from your account, your calendar, and all that information. Whereas like with Apple HomePod, they haven't talked about any of that kind of information yet.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm terrified by the whole concept.
Having a speaker always listening to you in your
I
house.
don't want that. It's bad enough I got Hey Siri on my phone, but it just works, so I keep it. But for when I'm driving, but I just it freaks me out. I'm a little leery.
I have had thoughts about it because I have the Google Home in my next to our bedroom TV. Because in the evenings before we go to bed, that's where I will do most of my Netflix watching.
Yeah,
and then I also have an Amazon device in the bedroom, one in my office, and one in our kitchen upstairs. I bought a Dot when they first came out, and then I just got a free Dot because I bought the new Fire Stick that Amazon just came out with, and you got a free Dot with it, or a $10 Dot with it. So I put that up in the kitchen, and so I've had thoughts about that. Like, Now, one thing that's interesting they said is you could use this as an intercom system.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of looking for Amazon to follow suit and add that to the Alexa. But it's funny that they're not even shying away from what everybody says. They look like a donut,
right?
And I heard that they're having these pop-up stores where you can go buy the Home Mini and they give away donuts when you get there.
I like that. That's good.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It's scary, but man, I go for the donut. That's pretty good.
Yeah, just go hang out and get the donut. They're also trying to make them pretty with these bases on the
yeah,
Google
it's that two-tone. That's their design language, which I kind of appreciate. I like the cloth on the home products more than I like the part plastic, part glass on the Pixels. Yeah.
Now the speaker, the Google Home Max, the price, I'm never buying one at that price. Excuse me. I'm never buying one of these at that price. But it'd be interesting to have good quality. But see, I mostly listen to podcasts, and so I don't need really high quality speakers.
Can you use it as part of your home theater setup?
Doesn't it have an auxiliary input?
Yeah, it's got an auxiliary input.
But it's analog.
So if you wanted to do it that way, I suppose.
But it's analog, so it's not necessarily going to sync with the HDMI.
It's a 3.5 millimeter input.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good fit.
It's not going to be great. That's not going to be as good as if you had a.
But if I could play something, on Netflix on my Chromecast and then have that come through, that's about the price of a good sound bar.
I don't know. Did they say anything about that? Whether you could, if you had a Chromecast, would it play through the speaker instead of through your television set?
I haven't heard anything about it. But that
wasn't an option.
That would be where the price point would make sense.
Yeah, it would be a cool thing if it sounds as good as they're saying.
Correct. It's the same thing with the Apple HomePod. If that's where the price point begins to make sense. I'm not an audiophile. I don't constantly listen to music like you. So
you'll definitely be able to do that with the HomePod because you can do that. You can already do that now with the Apple TV. Have it played through a different audio source.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the other things, we're going to kind of fly through this because I know some of you, your time is limited. I'm really interested in the Pixel book, except for one thing, and that's the Chromebook. $1,000, wah, wah, wah. I'm sorry, it's just way overpriced.
Kevin,
my Samsung Chromebook Plus, I bought for, I think, $449. And while, I know my Chromebook is not going to have near the quality of the hardware of this, my Chromebook is good enough for probably 90% of the people who want a Chromebook. In fact, for probably 80% of the people who want a Chromebook, my Chromebook is too expensive and too much hardware. But if they had come in at like $799, I think the argument would be a little bit more interesting that, okay, $799, I could deal with that. But I don't know. I just think this is the product they're giving to their Googlers, and then the few other people who are just really hardcore into it or have more money than God and don't really care how much it costs, that's what this is for.
But I think that this is the first device that really competes with the iPad Pro in its own space.
See, I don't think so, and I'm a guy who likes Chromebook. Okay,
but I love my iPad Pro. And that was my first reaction to the Pixel Book, was that, oh, this looks really cool, but man, if I'm paying $1,000, I don't want to deal with any compromises in software. And then I'm thinking, I just did that on my iPad Pro and I love it. And so the $999 is just about the same price as an iPad Pro with the Smart Type cover.
But the thing is like that's $999 for the lowest end. You're looking at
correct. If you want to get decent storage, you're getting. I don't even know what the price levels are. So what are the prices?
All right, so
about $2,000 for a full spec.
Are you kidding me? That's way too much.
Let's say you get the 256 SSD with 8 gigs of RAM. It's $12.99. If you get the Core i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 NVMe SSD, then it jumps to, what was that price you said? It's actually not showing the actual price here. Let me go back to change. Well, that's the $999 plus 650.
Yeah, that's a lot.
15,
but the 8
15.
gigs of RAM, I mean, isn't that about what a 256 gig iPad Pro costs with keyboard?
Yeah, but here's the thing. The Chrome OS.
Yeah. Is it more resource intensive?
99% of the people who use it don't need 8 gigs of RAM.
No, I totally understand. But what I'm saying is that for the storage is what I'm looking at, is 256 gigabyte SSD, about $1,200 is about the same price as an iPad Pro, 256 gigs, and the Smart Keyboard cover, right?
Yeah, you're right. But see, you're comparing, in my opinion, apples to oranges. I just don't think that an iPad and a Chromebook are the same thing. I just don't see that.
I just think they're moving in the same space. The fact that
I know they're trying to make it say it's the same thing. It's just not.
I think it's more of a same thing than a Surface.
I think a Surface is more like the iPad than the Chromebook is like the iPad. And here's why. There's a couple of things. Number one, high-end software. You can't yet do it on a Chromebook. For example.
Well, that's why I think it's more like an iPad.
Well, no, on an iPad you can do some pretty advanced photo editing, video editing now. I've got a video app. I can't remember the name of it. I would rather use it than Adobe Premiere. It's that nice.
Oh yeah, the one that you showed. Well, I mean, you have access to the App Store now.
Yeah, but they don't have that. They don't have it on.
No, but they still have
Android.
Lightroom.
What's that?
They have Lightroom, which is what I use on my.
Yeah, they have the mobile version of Lightroom,
and that's what I use on my iPad Pro.
Yeah, it's okay.
I like it.
Yeah, but I don't know. And don't get me wrong. If anybody watches this and they're a big fan of Chromebook, I am too. I really like Chromebook. The only reason I don't use my Chromebook more often is my chosen Bible software does not have a decent enough web app, and the mobile app doesn't do what the desktop app does. And so I don't use it as much because I'm in my Bible software, 90% of the time that I'm on a computer.
No,
not that much. 75% of the time.
I just find it interesting. I do think that this is geared more towards, hey, you're on Google and you want an iPad Pro. This is as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, you're right. And then charging extra for the Pixelbook Pen, it's a mistake too, I think.
Well, just again, they're competing with Apple. It's the same model.
I thought it was a mistake for Apple to do it, but
yeah, well, they're getting away with it. So Google's like,
you're right.
Extra money.
You're right.
In some ways, it makes sense though, because if you don't need the pen, then you're saving $100.
Yeah, I mean, I lived with my iPad Pro for about 6 months without a pen before I got it for Christmas.
That's true. So. Now, what do you guys think? Going back to the Pixel 2, what did you think about what they said about the camera?
I'm impressed.
It's pretty amazing.
With software.
Mark, go ahead. You haven't chimed in enough yet.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say I think it's pretty amazing the score that the camera got, or what was it, 98 on from the on the testing that was done, and I think I've got an iPhone 7 and it had an 85, I think.
Yeah, what's the name of that that
I was
benchmark?
trying to remember. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the benchmark that they were using, but it certainly it sounds like it outpaced the iPhone 8 and all the other phones that are out there.
I like the way that you can, if you own a Pixel phone, you can upload your photos at full resolution to Google Photos. Because I use Google Photos and OneDrive as my backup for all of my photos. All of my photos go up to those two places. And so I wish that they could do that. In fact, I went ahead and turned on uploading at full resolution anyway on all my devices because I don't want the lower res. And so I don't get the free storage when you use the lower resolution option. You get free storage.
One thing I really liked about the cameras is that it has the same what do you call it? The hardware. The anti-shake stuff? What do you call it?
The image stabilization.
Yeah.
Yes, the image stabilization. On an iPhone, you have to get the more expensive Plus to get that, and on this one, it's going to come on both of them. And I always thought that was a mistake to separate out the two iPhones that way.
I always wondered
it's
about
the
that.
DxO Mark 98.
Cool.
Was the DxO Mark is what they call it.
DxO.
So I'm not entirely sure what all that means, but I mean, look at these specs. You get a 1.8 aperture, which the aperture is the size of the part of the camera that lets the light come in. Mm-hmm. And the wider the aperture, the better the photography will be in lower light settings. So
how's it doing portrait mode without a dual camera for depth analysis?
It's using left and right pixels. So it's looking for
that's the dual
shading
pixel.
and depth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, didn't they also say that it shoots a bunch of photos?
Oh, yeah, it also does that as well. But that's more for
really
HDR.
Quick. It's like 5 or 6 photos.
Yeah,
and
it's doing a photo stack for HDR.
Yeah.
Well, and they also do something in portrait mode with that, I think.
Yeah, because we're looking at the difference in like left and right pixels to determine the depth of something.
It's a pretty good software hack, I gotta say.
Yeah, it was really impressive with the one photo they showed, like on the graffiti wall, and they were able to do the portrait mode on that.
Cool.
Look at this comparison. I don't know how well you can see that, through the screen here, but this is the Pixel 2. That's the iPhone 8 Plus, and that's the Pixel. Now, my very first reaction was that iPhone 8 Plus photo looks better.
Yeah, it's better saturation and color.
But it's the color in this one that looks better. But here, the background has a better blur to it. It's got a better bokeh effect.
Yeah.
If that's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difference in aperture settings, essentially.
And so you could fix the color in this. You could bump up the saturation a tiny bit in post-production, in your editing app, whatever. Pop it into Snapseed and fix that. But I was real tempted by the LG V30 is another camera. I was really tempted by their phone. I didn't get it because after hearing about it, I thought, wow, that sounds great. And then I read some reviews and saw some videos. And it turns out it's not as good as they claim, which is often the case. So instead, I got the Samsung Note 8. We'll talk more about that if we have time later on. Or maybe after you guys have to run, I can give a quick review of it or whatever. But because you guys have to be off of here right at 3, so some of you. So
my wife needs picked up. That's not my problem.
I understand. Well, anything else on the phones you guys wanted to cover or talk about, or were interesting or didn't like? Any critical analysis?
It's so weird because I love the design language that Google's using on the Pixel Book, and I don't like it on the phone even a little bit. And I don't know why. And that's total just personal aesthetic, like what I find pleasing, because there's other people that absolutely love it. And I think it's the neon on the button on the side. I'm just like, why? Ew, that's ugly. And it just
kind of like the red on the Apple Watch 3.
Yes, that's exactly it. It looks like a cloud.
They wanted it to look different.
I'm like, well, yeah, there's different, and then there's stupid. So it just looks weird.
What was funny to me is the names of the colors, and no one during the presentation could say those colors with a straight face.
No, so I missed the presentation. What did they say?
It's like kind of blue, clearly white, and like really black or something like that.
But you know, I think that's being
they're trolling Apple on that whole thing. That's all they're doing. I actually like that. That's kind of cool.
There's a lot of whimsy in those. Yeah. Here we got just black and white, clearly white, kind of blue.
They're trolling Apple. I love it. I thought that's great. Yeah.
Now the price on these, some people complained about the price, you know, because the Nexus phones, the pre-Pixel Google phones, were a lot cheaper than normal, and these are just as expensive or more. And so that's you know.
Well, you know, they pretty much just bought HTC, so they got to get that back somehow.
Yeah, but you can. Here's a good deal. You know, I'm sorry, I'll get to you in just a second, LaRosa. Here's a good deal. If you have an old Pixel, they have a trade-in program that is probably one of the best trade-in programs per price, because the old Pixel's going for about $500 on eBay. You're going to lose some of that with paying eBay for the right to sell your stuff. And they say if you've got an old Pixel XL in good condition, you can get $410 back.
Oh, wow.
That's not bad.
And it's from Google, so you know they're going to pay.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that's right. You don't have to wait 7 days to be promised, and then you have to hang on, because I've just recently sold something, and the person, it's been over 24 hours now, and they still haven't paid me, so I'm about to.
Yeah, we've had a couple issues with that.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of issues on eBay with that. All right, go ahead, LaRosa.
Yeah, it's like my only real complaint with the phone is that they're still only going through Verizon, so you're not going to be able to get this through any other carrier unless you're buying straight from Google. And then, as far as the price point, I understand why it's not as cheap as the Nexus phones used to be, because at that point they were just trying to get developers to create apps for their platform, so they had to get them cheaper phones to give them some kind of incentive. And I mean, as far as the specs go, I mean, it's on par with everything else, like the Note 8 iPhones. So considering like the iPhone, it's a really good price point.
Yeah, there's the button that Wes was talking about, that ugly button.
I just don't get it.
So let's see here.
Let me add one more thing about the phone. Wasn't the real-time translation a part of the phone itself?
Oh yes.
I thought that was but you didn't really need those. That was really cool. To me, that was the most impressive part of the whole presentation.
And that's right. And as I was thinking about us doing this today, one of my thoughts was, could you imagine short-term mission projects where you're going into some country and you want to, share with some people or talk to some people in a foreign country?
Hey, heck, I'm thinking about going over to my church on Sunday night.
Well, if you got that, if you have an international, community that you're a part of, or a church or something like that. I can remember I'm going back to preach homecoming at one of my former churches, and while we were there, we started a Hispanic mission, and the pastor spoke pretty good English, but most of the other people didn't. And I thought, I could have conversations with them now, thanks to these Pixel Buds, as they call them, and they're 159. Babelfish Incorporated, Incarnate. I mean, this is a real. That alone makes it look like an interesting thing. Do you need the earbuds for it though?
No, you don't need the earbuds. And I thought it was interesting.
With the phone?
Yeah, you can just do it with the phone. And I thought it was interesting because at the very beginning of the presentation, Sundar was showing a picture of two kids from the Little League World Series, one from North Dakota and another one from the Dominican. And both of them had their phones and they were texting back and forth using Google Translate. And he was like, but we can do better. So I was kind of wondering where he was going with that. And to see the implementation of being able to use the Google Assistant to do translation on the fly was really good.
It'll be interesting to see how it works real life, because I know, Google Translate in its, type it out form, it doesn't do a good job with things like syntax and figures of speech and an idiom. So it'll be interesting to see what they've done to the software to kind of improve how that works. Because when you're hearing it, it can't be wooden. It's gotta sound natural. So I'm actually intrigued by that.
And are you going to get all these features? Like, let's say that if I bought it for my Note 8, would I get the same features? Or do I have to have Oreo, the latest version of Android, to get the features? Or do I have to have a Pixel phone only?
I think all of that was just through the Google Assistant.
Oh, that's the
But you know what I'm
Could you do it
saying?
Could you do it through Apple?
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
The one thing I didn't really like about, like I say, the one thing I didn't like about the Pixel Buds is how they're tied together. I use my AirPods mountain biking and in the car, and even at my computer, and I use one at a time almost exclusively because I'm usually listening to spoken word audio and not to music. And you wouldn't be able to do that with these. It didn't look like.
Do they have the feature? I don't remember if they said this or not. Do they have the feature where, if you're listening to something and you pull your earbuds out, it stops the radio or the thing? Did they say that or not?
They didn't say, and they didn't really talk about how they. Yeah, they didn't talk about how they charge either. And I like that about the AirPods because you can charge one at a time and go all day that way with them.
They come with a charging case.
Yeah, but if you can't charge both, if you can't charge one at a time, then you're not going to be able to use them until they get charged. At least we don't know. They didn't go into detail on it.
Gotcha.
I'll just be honest. I think they're ugly.
Well, they are a little. They seem a little fat.
But I don't think the Apple AirPods are beautiful.
No, I think they're weird looking.
Yeah,
they're totally weird looking.
I mean, right now he looks like he has two horns coming out of his ears. I mean, look at Mark.
I do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I do. Yeah.
He's on the road to becoming a Cyberman.
Delete.
We'll all join each other there, I'm sure, in the future.
We're going to upgrade.
Well, overall, I would say I think Google's going in the right direction with hardware.
Now
when you go to the Google store, I almost said Apple Store.
Unless
when you go to the store.google.com, all you're going to find are Google products. They used to sell, other people's Chromebooks and other people's watches. Hey, by the way, notice this. Let me show you the watch section of the store.google.com. Where is that? Let's see here. You see where I'm going with this, right? It doesn't exist.
Are they dumping Android wear?
They're not dumping
Google
Android wear.
Their hands up with Android wear?
No, what they said is that because they don't have one that's made
by
exclusively
Google?
by Google, because they're taking the Google store where it's only products made by Google.
That makes
sense. That means there's going to be something coming.
Is that what they said before someone asked them about it, or is that what they said after someone asked them about it?
They said after someone asked them.
So here's what here's my reading of that answer. Oh yeah, we don't want people to think we're getting rid of that. So what could we say? Well, it's not made by Google. Oh, okay, there we go. That's a good explanation. I think they're maybe giving up.
If everything else on the site is made by Google.
Well, but they didn't have to do that. They could have just said, since we don't have a watch, you can buy the latest Huawei watch in our store.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, it makes sense because especially.
Would anybody have complained if they had done that?
Well, I think now that they have HTC, they might be working on one to have one soon. So
I have a feeling they're going to make their own, and it's not going to look like any of the Android Wear stuff that came out before. What about the cameras? That's the answer. What's with the camera? The clips?
Oh yeah, let's see here. Where? It's not out yet.
It was towards the front, Kev.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. I'm going the wrong way.
Or just scroll down. It's like right next to the Pixel 2 accessories.
There we go. Yeah, I forgot about that. The clips. It's $250 for a camera with no sound.
And no way to see what you're getting.
Right.
You can't live view it on anything?
Yeah, you can do it on your phone.
On your phone.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah. It's cool, but I want sound.
Well, what are they saying it's for?
It's not doing video. It's only doing pictures.
Oh, you're basically creating a GIF?
Oh.
No, you're taking pictures, but it's also doing it's also doing like the live photos as well, kind of like Apple does.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of stop motion, like a whole bunch of frames pasted together, not pasted, but
stacked together.
Put together.
It's like a motion JPEG.
Yeah, it's just like Apple's live photos.
Yeah, doesn't interest me even at all.
Yeah, but Apple's live photos
interesting.
But it's nice though because the way this is set up is you put in the people that it recognizes, so it only takes pictures of them. So then you can just set that off somewhere.
I swear,
So
Google is
just start taking
Skynet.
pictures.
I'm sorry, there's Skynet. No, that's not cool. That's no. Here, Google, look at my child. Now track it across the universe. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not good. We're not doing that. No
Did
clips.
you ever read the book The Circle? And I
I need to.
think that there was a movie about it. It was sort of on Google, and in the book, and I didn't see the movie.
This is one of those, here, my opinion of this product is this is one of those things that if it was made by anybody other than Google, everybody would be laughing at it right now.
Yes.
They'd be like, oh, forget $250 for a camera that doesn't have audio on it? No.
Yeah, because
This
isn't
is-
that like GoPro range? It's like $299 for a Hero 3.
Yeah. I just think it's a dumb idea. If it had sound, I'd be much more forgiving. It's, what is it? How many frames per second?
I
Let's
don't
see
know.
here, go to
Scroll
tech
down.
specs. It's really low, as I remember.
15 frames per second. What's the point?
Yeah.
Well, because it's not for doing video, though.
But I don't understand. What's the point of it?
Okay, but
So
they
these are
said
not-
Other
video.
than allowing Google to track my family through like
Well, the main
every
point is so that you can like capture moments without having to take out your phone. So you can just set the camera up somewhere and it's just taking pictures all by itself. without
Here's
you
what
having
this
to
is.
take out your
This
phone and
is
snap
the
pictures.
Google. What were the glasses called?
Google Glass.
Google Glass.
The Google Glass. Only now it's on a clip that you put on your shirt, or you hang on your baby's toy, mobile, or those kinds of things. That's what it is. Right?
Yeah, I'm not interested even a little bit.
Well, I actually am if there were a few things, and one is sound
Okay.
and a higher frame rate, 30. I would be okay with it being 30. Not excited, but okay if it was 30. And even at that price, I would say, I would have been tempted with sound and 30 frames per second.
But why would you get that instead of the GoPro?
I don't
Because
know.
I can do more with the GoPro, and I know it's more durable.
That's a good point. I've never, for some reason, I've just never really looked into GoPro.
Because the one thing about this is it set it and forget it. You just set it down and it works on its own.
Yeah, I'd say, and that doesn't interest me a little bit. So
The latest GoPro Hero 5 is $399.
okay, and the
I mean,
smaller
maybe-
ones are $299. So
It's like I could see a scenario where there's something like Christmas, instead of me having to have my phone out taking pictures of everyone opening their gifts, just setting that up and just actually enjoying the moment and letting that taking all the pictures for me.
I guess
If it had sound.
but he's saying it's for pictures.
Yeah, it's for
Yeah, but
pictures, not video.
they said video. You're saying it's for pictures, but in the presentation, they
It's
talk-
really it's making GIFs is what it's doing.
Yeah.
So
a
well,
GoPro
which goes for
GoPro
GIFs now.
Simplified is $149.
Okay.
$99. So let's just compare. All right. I'll put my screen on here. $49.99. You get an SD card slot,
Yeah.
something you don't get with the other one.
So you
I'm
set up
guessing they're going to
storage
say you
for it.
don't need it because it just goes to your phone.
Right.
Okay. 1440 pixels per inch. That's for still. 100 frames per second video. Plus all the accessories that go with GoPro system.
Yeah.
I mean, there are gobs and gobs of things you can connect to your GoPro to get it to do what you want it to do. Time lapse from 0.5 to 60 seconds. Yeah, see this, and this is the 150 one, the one that's $100
right,
less.
and it's like what LaRose is saying. It's not a set and forget because you have to be able to activate it.
That's right.
It's also a fisheye lens, so you need to know how to correct it. But those are things that I know how to do, so I'm fine.
But the people who are going to use this are also the people who may not care that it's a fisheye lens.
They might even be able to notice it. So I don't get it. Maybe I could be missing something, but I don't get it.
I'm with you on
and
this, Wes. I
And
don't
for
get it
you,
either.
for LaRosa, you going, well, it recognizes people and takes pictures of them. Like, that does not make me feel better about this product.
Well, but even if it
So-
did, even if that was a positive, like something you were interested and excited about, you can offload your pictures from your GoPro into your phone and using their app, It's
Right.
automatic somewhat. And then Google Photos will notice those people. Your iPhone and Apple Photos will notice the people and recognize them. So
Yeah, but there's what like LaRoche is saying is if you could set up a use case like Christmas morning, so take pictures of the kids, and if you take a picture of my wife, I will throw you out the window because that's what's going to happen to me. That's something that makes sense. Like I can see the use of it, but I still am frightened like the dickens of that idea.
yeah, I think this is the Google is doing what there was a company that pitched me when I used to work for Gotta Be Mobile, and they said, we'd like to let you review our Kickstarter product. And it's a camera that you're going to clip to your shirt, and it's going to constantly record all day, every day. And it'll loop. Now, when something happens and you want it to, you push the button, and it'll save the last 5 minutes of video.
Consumer body cameras.
Download it to your phone.
Yeah.
I could use one of those.
Now, that thing was $100, and it used your phone for to offload it, but it was just as simple as this thing, and it did have audio, it had video, you could snap photos or grab a frame is what the app did, I think, and the picture quality was I think it was like in the range of like 4 megapixels, which is fairly low by today's standards, but not bad for what it was. And it was the size of, if I'm, it was like the size of that. So you could clip it here. Probably about the same as these. And that was 2 years ago. Now, here's the thing. It took them forever to get it to market. And then I can't remember the name of it. And once they finally got it to market, I wasn't important enough to them anymore to let me review it. So it had gotten a lot of attention. And I can't remember the name of it. Maybe I'm describing something and you guys are going, yeah, I know what that is. Anybody sound familiar? No.
Not.
Okay. And so they wouldn't even return my email after they released it. But I don't know. So let's not dwell on that. Let's go back and kind of do a summary here of what we're looking at here. Phones, up or down?
If I was in the market for a new phone, I'd be buying a Pixel.
Okay, I'm there as well. Except I didn't buy it, and one of the main reasons is when I finally got to the point where I could actually buy it, said you're not going to get this till after Thanksgiving, and so that's actually one of the reasons. Plus, Samsung Pay with my Samsung Watch is a big deal to me. Okay, Pixel Book. If you were a Chromebook guy, up or down?
Up if I was a Chromebook guy.
Okay.
I mean, it's too much spec for a Chromebook right now.
If I was a Android user and I wanted something that could increase productivity, like in a tablet format, finally, that would be what I would get.
Okay. I'm going to say at $200 less, I would be waiting for mine right now. I would have ordered it at $200 less. I'm not going to now.
You'll find one on eBay soon enough.
What's that?
I said you'll find one on eBay soon enough.
Yeah, actually, I've thought about that. All right. Google Home Mini at $50 for a little Google Home. If you're in the Android or I'm in the Google ecosystem, up or down?
Yeah, I mean, buy a bunch of those when around the house. It's not a bad idea.
I'm not in the Google ecosystem, and I probably will still get one. I think they're cool, and the price point is good.
Wes, I'm paranoid and wearing a tinfoil hat.
Okay, all right. Google Home Max. Let's ask this differently. Since are any of you planning? Since all of you are Mac guys, are any of you planning on buying the Apple version of this, the HomePod?
No.
No. Why is that?
Nah.
I don't have any need for it.
Okay.
I just
buy a
don't.
Speaker first.
Yeah, I'm not I don't have music constantly on.
Okay.
And so there's literally no reason for it.
All right. So now let's jump it over. Do you think that if someone was in the market for Google HomePod or for the Apple HomePod, and they also were in the Google ecosystem as well as the Apple ecosystem, do you think this is enough of a draw in that direction to make people really think hard about making that choice.
Yeah, but it depends wherever they get their music from.
Well,
and if they're signed up for Google's music service, you get the Google one. If you're signed up for Apple's, you get the Apple one, and then that's pretty much it.
Well, the Google one will play Spotify. It'll play Google Play Music, and if you just do Bluetooth, it'll play any music on your phone.
Well, Apple can do that part too.
Right. Right.
If you're into Google, if you're Google Spotify, then you get the Google one.
Well, the nice thing too about the Google Home is that it plays nice with both ecosystems.
Yeah, that's true.
And Apple only plays with theirs. Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if you know this. You keep talking about Sonos. Sonos has announced that they're going to add AirPlay, Google Play.
Oh yeah, I did this.
And they're going to add Alexa as well.
They've already added Alexa. So
so by this time next year, doesn't matter which one of the three you're in, you'll be able to use your Sonos speakers for that.
So everybody's just going to buy Sonos.
No, but they're very expensive, and I think it's going to be a while before they can do all that.
How much do they cost?
There's going to be a lot of people going,
What's a Sonos speaker cost right now?
It's like $150 for the it's like $299 I think for like the Sonos One.
It's the same price as the.
And then
I thought it was more than that.
What about? Do they have HDMI pass through?
On one of them, yes, because there's one that serves as like a base station.
Okay.
Sonos One is $199. The Play One is $199. The Play 3 is $299, and the Play 5 is $499. What's the difference between those four? I don't know, other than price.
The size and the number of speakers.
Gotcha.
I think so. I'll show you just so that those who are watching can see the screen.
So now, if $399 is the $499 one is the one that acts as the base station, now you're talking that's something useful, because that's a cost of a small receiver kind of setup for a sound on a TV. So if you can do that and use any ecosystem you want for your music, that's pretty cool.
Now, the Sonos One is the only one in this screen that mentions Amazon integration. Will the other ones work with it?
They will. They all use the same software.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I've never used a Sonos. I listened to them in Best Buy and went, no, I don't think, at that time, I think they were like $8.99 or something. And I thought, they're not worth, my ears can't hear the difference because I'm half deaf in one ear and 3/4 or 1/4 deaf in the other. So,
yeah, the main reason why I don't have a Sonos is because at the time I was looking at them, you had to use their app to play music, and so if something like Google Play wasn't approved, then you weren't able to use it for your music. So, but it's more open now.
All right, Wes, have you got time for your one more thing before you have to jump off here?
Yeah, well, it's 3 o'clock, so I'm going to go, but I'm going to do this real quick. This is my new favorite thing. This is a Tascam DR40, which is a 4-channel recorder. It can actually record all 4 channels at once. It also can be set as a safety with a safety track, so you can record something at a -6 decibels. So if you get a peak, you can actually go to the lower track, and you don't get everything washed out. So it's got the 2 condenser mics on the top, which you can put in 2 positions. So if I'm doing an interview, I can hold it this way, and I can actually have us each on one channel. And then on the bottom, this is the selling point. It actually has 2 combination 1/4-inch and XLR plugs. So I can plug any professional microphone that I want into it. It's got really good software built in for doing the mixer and stuff. And I use this with my DSLR for recording audio, which is really cool. And I have it on a little desktop tripod that I can use as a handle for interviews, and I set it up on the podium for preaching. And then I put my Don King hat on it, and that's the windscreen. And
let me see that.
Pretty good.
There you go. Put that back up.
The Don King hat.
Don King hat is my favorite part.
There you go. And actually, it's really nice, excellent quality. And it's really kind of fun because this is like a professional tool, so I'm learning how to do sound, and that's really fun. So for me, I'm geeking out in so many different ways.
We need to link to that YouTube video you did for the test.
The one on the river.
Yeah.
I had a couple of them. So I actually took this out on the river like this, and I tested like 4 different ways. and I was holding it like with the windscreen on, and it was a windy day, and I was just recording it next to my mouth, and I'm going blah, 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 and you couldn't hear anything but my voice. It was really cool.
Send me a link to that video, and we'll put it with the show notes on theotek.com.
I shall after pick up my wife, but right now I got to leave. So goodbye, everybody.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Wes. We'll talk to you later.
See you soon.
Anybody else got a favorite thing?
I don't have a favorite thing, but I got to hop off too.
Okay. We'll see you later. Mark, have you got a favorite thing?
Sorry, don't have one.
Well, you can listen to me talk about my Galaxy Note 8. I won't say too much about this. Everybody probably knows enough about these. I just picked mine up yesterday, and I bought it on Verizon. It's got 64 gigs. It's got a beautiful size, and just I really like it. I got the Orchid Gray version, which that's not it. But anyway, the reason I got it is I love the Note S Pen. I take notes in, anytime I'm listening to someone speak, not because I want to later on come back and look at those notes, but it helps keep me focused on the speaker. So when I'm going to a ministers' conference in our association of pastors, we have preaching every Monday, not every Monday, most Mondays, and it helps me to, focus on it. And I love that. The beautiful screen. It's got a great camera. Nice long battery life. I was really hammering on it yesterday, working, setting it up, and it never drained below 50%. It started with 77%, and it got below about right at 50% after about 5 hours of almost constant use. So that's pretty good. So anyway, I'm very pleased with it. Maybe I'll have more to say later on about it, or complaints after I've used it a while. But Mark, I really appreciate you joining us. We're excited that you've decided to come along for the ride and be a part of the Theotek team.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And I did have a question. I saw those phones in the store, and they look beautiful. How do all the Android apps scale? Because that's such a huge screen and a little bit compared to some other form factors.
What did you ask? Do the Android apps what?
Well, on that phone.
I haven't had a problem. I haven't noticed any app not working properly. I'm really looking forward to looking and seeing how Accordance works on this one day.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that too.
That's kind of my running thing. I needle Rick about once every other show about the fact that he told us that there'd be an Android app one day, and it's been a long time since we heard that. But
trust me,
one day soon.
We're not happy that it's taken this long either.
A bunch of Apple guys don't know how to make Android apps, right? No, I'm kidding about that. I'm totally kidding about that. I understand it is. I've heard other programmers say that it's quite a bit more challenging to program in a meaningful way.
And it is
on Android.
And it is in active development. It's not like we stuck it on a shelf because it was too frustrating or something like that. Yeah, it's but it's taken longer than we thought, for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, this has been the Theotek Podcast, and we've really enjoyed sharing this with you. If you're still with us at this point, thank you. We're amazed, and we wonder why. But no, I'm kidding. As always, you can go to theotek.com. If you want to listen to the audio version, you can subscribe to it in iTunes. And I think it's still working. I've sort of not been focusing a lot on Theotek all summer, and I haven't tested this out yet, but I think it's still working in things like I use Pocket Casts on Android, and it's there. I know it works there. And so those are the kinds of places that you can listen to the audio version. We try to get it up get the episodes up on audio within a week or so after the regular show. So hopefully you'll get to hear it if you subscribe. You can also go to theotek.com and subscribe to the RSS feed there and just listen on your computer or watch on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it, and share it with other friends. We do this as a labor of love. None of us gets paid a dime. We all take a week or two, an hour or two out of our week. We're going to be doing this every other week, probably more likely. We were doing it weekly, and our team just decided that was too much. And so we're going to try to do every other week or at least once a month going forward. But we really appreciate all of you joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to send a message to kevin@theotek.com or put comments in the show notes on theotek.com or on the YouTube channel, and we'll always answer them, and sometimes we might even answer them on the air. But thanks a lot. We appreciate you watching, and we are out.